Welcome back to the Mark Worch Show. This is episode -3. For those of you just tuning in for the first time, I recently started this podcast and I literally have no idea what it's about yet. It's generally going to be about business, but there will be a lot of twists and turns, but I just needed to get started. I just wanted to start recording. So here I am. I'm recording. I kept making a lot of excuses to start this podcast, but nonetheless, here I am. I plan on interviewing a lot of individuals during this podcast, a lot of small business owners, and talking to them about their journey along their entrepreneurial journey. Yeah, see, that's another thing I need to work on is my articulation. Not very good with that. I don't even know how to sit. I wanted to talk about 3 lessons that I have learned, or as many lessons as I can come up with, while operating a coffee shop. For those of you who do not know and you're just tuning in 2017, the Colombian Coffee House opened. I was one of the first customers to ever enter the shop. I immediately fell in love with the whole business concept, everything that the owners were doing there. I would work on my laptop every single day remotely on a real estate company that I had at the time. And I always wanted a piece of this company. I just loved it. I love the city that it's in, downtown Delray Beach, Florida. I wanted to own a piece of the city. I wanted to own a piece of the community, and I just had to have a piece of this coffee shop. So fast forward 3 years, I finally had the opportunity at the end of 2020 to buy a piece of the coffee shop. And here we are 4 years later, me and my business partner, she's one of the original co-founders. And we are co-owners together. I own this coffee shop, and all the things that I've been learning along the way, I just want to jump right into it. One of the biggest lessons that I have learned is working with employees. Working with my team, working with my staff has been one of the biggest challenges and the biggest learning experiences that I've gone through. I want to unpack that a little bit. I'm going to be all over the place talking about this. So the first thing that comes to mind is training and consistency. That was one of the biggest challenges, as you know, as you may know, in the restaurant industry in Southeast Florida. The turnover rate is about 75%. We're operating a little less than that. So we're constantly having to rehire, restaff, and retrain. And one of the biggest challenges I noticed is a consistency in training. Is it always the same person who's training the new employee? Are they remembering everything they needed to teach that person? Are they training them the same thing? Did they teach it differently? Are they getting better along the way as they teach the employee? The consistency is just not there, and that's one of the biggest challenges. So I realized I needed to put a training program in place for the sake of consistency and for the sake of hitting every little thing that I think is necessary to go over for employees to achieve our mission. A lot of those things would be not just the technical things, right? How to make the coffee, how to prepare the breakfast, but also the customer service side. How do you handle certain situations? So now there needs to be training. There needs to be a program, but how does that get done? 2 things I came up with. One was I'll have a manual, which seemed a little old school, but literally just a manual that goes over all different scenarios, read them out loud, and the employees can read through those and then take a quiz about those scenarios. I felt like I'm a visual learner, and something that would help me if I was an employee would to have some type of instructional videos. So I thought, okay, this would be a great idea. Let's do mock scenarios of customer service scenarios, and that would be a perfect opportunity to create a training video and package that and have, let's say, 10 different training videos that are a couple minutes long each. Put those videos together, and then it will be consistency, and I'll know every single employee, every single team member is hearing the exact same thing. And it's also saving in labor time, because then my store manager or myself doesn't have to retrain that employee on every minute little detail. They can pick them up when they're watching the video. That's the training component, and I just wanted to make sure there's a bunch of consistency involved in that. I also realized that scheduling employees, that's in the restaurant industry, labor costs are extremely high. They can be 35 or 40% of your total gross revenue. So that's a constant balancing act of scheduling, cutting people, adding people to shifts when it's busy so don't lose quality because you're understaffed, and you're not overspending on payroll because you're overstaffed. So that's another thing I really wanted to pay attention to and create a system in place. And how can I keep track of the labor expenses, and how can I make sure I'm perfectly staffed, never understaffed, never overstaffed. One of the things I thought of, we have all this data over the last 7 years since the coffee shop has been operating, and we can look at all the hours and tie that in, all the employee hours that have been scheduled over the last year, say 2023, for example. We can look at all the hours that are worked, put it on a spreadsheet each by the day, 365 days in the year 2023. And we can see how many employee hours were at each day, and then put the sales for each of those days, the total gross sales for each of those days, to see how busy we were those days, and then put some type of formula together on how many employees we should have based on sales. And then we could do that for 7 years, going back to 2022, 2021. And basically, we're able to anticipate or project in 2024 and 2025 moving forward the staffing requirements that we'll have for the coffee shop on what days or what times of the year we're really busy and how many employees we're going to need. I haven't looked into this, but I would imagine there's some type of software that allows you, some type of scheduling app, so you can use a scheduling app so it keeps all that data for you, and it lets you know or kind of recommends how many employees you should have. Comment below if you know any apps like that that keep data for scheduling and for staffing. So scheduling was something big that I had to learn with about employees. Training the employees was something big with the employees. A second thing, or a second category that I've been really learning, is about myself. And being a business owner is working specifically with a business partner. So working with a business partner has a lot of positives. It has a lot of pros, but it also has a lot of cons. And I wanted to go over some of those things right now. For example, your business partner may have a lot of time that you don't have. And they might have expertise, they might have money. The idea is that they have certain traits or resources that you don't have, and you also bring something different to the table. For example, in the context of my business partnership, my business partner has a very much a CPA accounting mentality. She's really good. She's the CFO of the company, and she's able to track expenses. She keeps track of all the numbers, and it's a really good, she has that type of personality. But I have more an entrepreneur personality, and then like, I just want a pioneering mentality. I just want to go. I just want to wing it. I want to do things. So we have a good balancing act, because I'm like running by the seat of my pants, almost with, I have a plan in my mind, but then it probably looks from the outside that I really don't have a plan. And then she kind of brings me back, and we really balance each other out, because perhaps she wouldn't be willing to take as many risks if I wasn't there being the entrepreneur and pushing the envelope. So I balance her out in that regards. But it's also very difficult having a business partner. It's a little more bureaucratic, because every decision you make now, you're considering that person. It's like being in a relationship. So it generally, my experience is having a business partner slows things down a little bit, because perhaps you have decisions you can make when you're just the only partner on your own very quick, and you've got hundreds of decisions you have to make constantly throughout the day. But now you have a business partner, so you're kind of considering, well, how would this other person think? Would they like it? So there just has to be a lot of communication, just like in any healthy relationship. So that has been a challenge for myself, and I know it has for my business partner, but it's a really good opportunity to grow, to communicate with each other, and to really be patient, listen to what the other person's thinking, listen to the ideas, and ultimately, you're working with your business partner. You're not working against your business partner. So as long as the egos are set aside and you're both hardworking and loyal to each other, and more importantly, loyal to the business, what's best for the business, and you can communicate clearly your opinions and support that and base it on information, then come together, bring all the information to the table. And then from there, okay, this is what I think. We have all this information, and I'm thinking A, B, C, and D, and she's thinking X, Y, and Z. And from there, what's best for the company and what aligns with the mission of the company. So I was able to take a challenge for me in the context of a business partnership and really look at as an opportunity to grow. So currently we have 2 Colombian coffee houses, and we're getting ready to open up the 3rd location right now in East Boca Raton, Florida. That in itself was a massive learning experience. We signed the lease over a year ago, and here we are just getting ready to open up. I ended up having to pay over about 6 months in rent, and then we got 4 or 6 months free rent from the landlord. Plus we had all the build out cost. That was extremely expensive. Plus we're going to open up and we're going to have a lot of labor costs while we're barely making in any revenue. Hopefully the revenue starts coming in quick. Really excited because this Friday we have a private soft opening party, and basically that's a PR event. We invited a bunch of families, friends. There'll be a few politicians there. Basically the who's who's, a bunch of influencers, and it's just to get the word out that we're open. And at the same time, it's a free tasting for all the guests. They're going to come in there. They're going to try our food, all of our pastries, all of our coffees, and it'll just be a really good time to share in the excitement of opening up the 3rd location, get some feedback, and really start the marketing plan for 30, 60, and 90-day push for marketing for this new location. So really excited. That's this Friday. And then the following day, Saturday, is going to be the grand opening. We're really excited about that. There's a lot to plan for that party. And then once we're open, at that point, it's about copying and pasting the same business model and continuing to do things better. Because now this is the 3rd location. So can we keep copying this concept? Is this really a viable concept, or are we just getting lucky on the other ones? So it's just a huge learning process for all that. You can read about things, you can hear about things, but when you actually do something on your own and you apply it, it's way different. It hits way different. I was reading Patrick Bet-David's book, Your Next 5 Moves, and he goes over the acronym TWA, which is Theory, Witness, and Application. And he talks about how when we have a knowledge base, some people have a knowledge base based on theory, based on books that they've read, articles that they've read, research that they've looked over, and they built this knowledge base and they can render opinions about something and they're experts in that field, but they really have no application. They've never done it, or they don't really know anyone who's done it, but they have all the theory behind it. Then you have W, which is witness. You always have that person who perhaps they grew up and their family was entrepreneurs. And there's somebody who grew up and they saw their dad always own companies. So they witnessed these things happening and they learned through watching other people do things. And then of course you have the 3rd form of knowledge, which is application, which is one of my favorites. It's just during. You learn as you do things. So those are the 3 forms of knowledge. And then in his book, Pat talks about how the trifecta, TWA, is having a nice balance or some type of allocation between theory, witness, and application. So you're an expert at what it is that you're doing, what it is you're talking about. And then you've also witnessed other people do it, other people start businesses, and then the application. You've actually done it for yourself as well. So I've applied that to the coffee shop and everything that goes along with a coffee shop, because I've really kind of steered away from the theory side in terms of learning about coffee and learning about the food in itself. I'm more intrigued with the people side, the community side, and the business aspect and the processes and the way business operate. Again, so I just started this. I haven't taken any notes, so I didn't do any outline. I had a general idea of what I want to talk about. So I'm curious to see, basically I have no preparation for these videos whatsoever. So I'm curious to see at some point I'll do some type of outlining or some type of preparation before these podcasts. Perhaps since these are going to be anywhere from 20 to 40 minute solo podcasts, if I put in an hour of preparation of what I want to talk about specifically prior to each of these podcasts, I'm curious to see, honestly, how much more quality the content will be for you guys. I would imagine it will be exponentially better as long as I continue to improve in speaking and articulating my thoughts and my ideas. So I'm going to do that. I want to do that. I'm going to budget time aside. I'm going to put in my calendar for each week to at least spend an hour of budgeted time and really put together a nice 20 to 30 minute episode of what the heck I'm going to talk about. Because right now I'm just flat out winging it. So I would imagine this is very scattery, low quality as far as the content and the information. And that's not one of the purposes of this podcast. I want to bring value and information. I want people to watch this because they're really gaining a lot from this. That's all for today. Thank you for watching the Mark Worch Show. This is episode -3. Tune in next time.